It was the middle of summer when the calls started, always at 12:03 a.m. Elena, a college student living alone for the first time, thought nothing of the first one. It was late, and the screen showed no caller ID. She let it ring out, assuming it was a prank or someone dialing the wrong number. But the calls came again the next night. And the next. On the fourth night, she made a mistake. She answered. The phone hissed with static, the sound sharp and unnatural, like something scraping against metal. For a moment, Elena thought no one was there. Then, faintly, she heard it. Hello. The voice was quiet, distorted, as though the speaker was underwater. It sounded weak. Lost. Elena frowned and spoke into the phone. Who is this? The voice paused, then replied. Can you help me? A chill ran through her. Who are you? She asked again, her voice unsteady. But the line went dead. The next morning, Elena brushed it off as a prank, though a sense of unease lingered. She tried to focus on her day, work, errands, dinner. But when the clock hit 11:59 p.m., her eyes darted to her phone on the table. At 12:03, it rang. No caller ID. Elena's heart pounded. She ignored it this time, watching the screen flash until the ringing stopped. But this time, there was a voicemail. With trembling fingers, she played it. The static was worse now, louder, more aggressive. Beneath it, the same voice whispered, Please, don't leave me alone, they're coming. Her blood ran cold. She deleted the message and turned her phone off, telling herself it was a cruel joke. But as she lay in bed, something strange happened. From the corner of the room, she heard it. A faint buzzing, like a phone vibrating. She sat up, staring into the darkness. Her phone was on the nightstand, off. And yet, the buzzing grew louder. Elena jumped out of bed, grabbed the phone, and held it to her ear without thinking. You answered, her breath hitched. The voice wasn't coming from the phone. It was behind her. She spun around, but the room was empty. Nothing moved, nothing stirred, but the presence in the room was suffocating. She threw the phone across the room and ran out of the apartment. Elena spent the next day at her best friend Maya's place, refusing to go home. It's just some creep messing with you, Maya said. Change your number, problem solved. Elena agreed, feeling better, until she checked her phone later that day. She had 12 missed calls. All at 12:03 a.m. Her new number hadn't stopped anything. That night, despite her protests, Maya insisted on staying over with Elena. We'll turn off the phones, lock the doors, and it'll be fine, she said. At 12:03, both of their phones rang. No caller ID. Maya's face paled. It's probably just a coincidence, she said weakly, though she didn't sound convinced. The phones stopped ringing, but this time, both had voicemails. Maya played hers first. Static, louder than ever, then a whisper, she answered. She let them in. Maya looked at Elena, her eyes wide. What the hell does that mean? Before Elena could answer, there was a knock at the door. It was soft, 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. They stared at the door, frozen. It was past midnight. No one should be there. Don't open it, Elena whispered. The knocks came again, louder this time. Knock. 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 Maya stood up, her voice shaking. Maybe it's just the neighbor. Don't, Elena shouted. Don't open it. But it was too late. Maya peeked through the peephole. There's no one there, she said, turning back to Elena. Then the lights went out. The apartment plunged into darkness. Elena's phone buzzed again, even though it was powered off. The screen lit up. 12:03 a.m. No caller ID. The knocking came again, this time from inside the apartment. Elena fumbled for her phone, desperate for light. As the screen illuminated the dark room, she saw them. Figures. Shadows. Tall, twisted shapes standing in the corners of the room, unmoving. Their heads tilted toward her, as though watching. Her phone rang again. The voice on the line was clearer now, and closer. "You shouldn't have answered." The call ended. The last thing Elena heard before the shadows closed in was a soft whisper, echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Now you're one of us." The next day, Elena and Maya were reported missing. Their apartment was found empty, the phones left behind. Both had 12 voicemails, each recorded at 12:03 a.m. The only sound on the recordings was static. And a faint voice whispering, "Can you hear me?" People say if you get a call at 12:03 a.m. from no caller ID, you should never answer. Some believe it's a warning, others say it's an invitation into something dark, something you can't escape. So the next time your phone rings after midnight, don't answer. Because once you do, they'll come for you next.